A medieval monk, later canonized, writes a prophecy. It lists 112 popes with brief definitions of them. After the 112th pope comes the Last Judgment, the end of days. Coincidentally, we live in the time of this pope. Is the prophecy true? Is the Last Judgment awaiting us? Stay till the end and decide for yourself. We go back in time to the year 1595. Then the so-called Book of Prophecies was published by a Benedictine monk named Arnold Wyan. He attributed it to Saint Malachy, the 12th century Archbishop of Armagh. He explained that the prophecy had not to his knowledge ever been printed before. From then until today, this collection called Prophecy of Saint Archbishop Malachy concerning the Supreme Pontiffs has given rise to heated disputes. The book is actually a series of 112 short cryptic phrases in Latin that purport to predict the Catholic popes, along with a few anti-popes, beginning with Celestine II. But that's not even what's interesting about it. It's that after 112 popes, according to the book, the end of the world comes. Who is Saint Malachy? Malachy, born in 1094 and died on the 2nd of November 1148, is an Irish saint, Archbishop of Armagh, to whom were attributed several miracles and an alleged vision of 112 popes, later attributed to the apocryphal prophecy of the popes. Besides being the first archbishop of Irish origin, Malachy worked zealously to restore ecclesiastical discipline, restored marriage, renewed the practices of confession and confirmation, and introduced Roman chants into the liturgy. He was also known for his care for the needy as a miracle worker and healer. In his lifetime, he planted apple trees throughout Ireland during times of famine. After his hard work and several miracles, he was recognized by the Church. Malachy died on the 2nd of November 1148. However, his feast day is on the 3rd of November, so as not to coincide with All Souls' Day. He was canonized as a saint in 1190 by Pope Clement III. As I have already mentioned, this book has caused many disputes over the centuries, both about its authorship and about the coincidences of the predictions in it. According to an account put forward in 1871, Malachy was summoned to Rome in 1139 by Pope Innocent II to receive 2 wool palliums for the metropolitan sees of Armagh and Cashel. While in Rome, Malachy purportedly experienced a vision of future popes, which he recorded as a sequence of cryptic phrases. This manuscript was then allegedly deposited in the Vatican secret archives and forgotten about until its rediscovery in 1590, supposedly just in time for a papal conclave occurring at the time. One theory to explain the creation of the prophecy, advanced by the 17th century French priest and encyclopedist Louis Moreri among others, is that it was circulated by supporters of Cardinal Girolamo Simoncelli in support of his bid to become pope during the conclave in 1590 to replace Pope Urban VII. In the prophecy, the Pope after Urban VII is described as from the Old City, and Simoncelli is from Orvieto, which in Latin means Old City. Moreri and others suggest that the prophecy was created in a failed attempt to prove that Simoncelli was destined to be a pope. However, the discovery of a reference to the prophecy in a 1587 letter casts doubt on this theory. But whether we believe it or not, let us see the prophecies themselves. We will skip the first part of the list containing popes who ruled before the time of the manuscript and focus on the coincidences in the definitions after the time of its publication, because only these can be called prophecies. Here are some examples that are pretty close. Religion laid waste, Benedict XV, 1914 to 1922. During his reign, communism moved into Russia, where religious life was laid waste, and World War I happened. Pastor and Mariner, John 23, 1958 to 1963. Also called Pastor and Sailor, John was a pastor to the world and the Patriarch of Venice, whose waterways are famous for gondolas. Flower of Flowers, Paul VI, 1963 to 1978. Paul's coat of arms depicts 3 fleurs-de-lis, corresponding to Malachy's prophecy. He is called of the half moon, or from the half moon. John Paul I, 1978 to 1978. He became Pope on August 26, 1978, when the moon appeared exactly half full. From the Labor of the Sun, John Paul II, 1978 to 2005. Amazingly, Pope John Paul II was the only pope who was born both on the day of a solar eclipse and buried on a day when the sun was eclipsed. And now let's look at the most interesting part, namely the prophecy about 112 popes. It is interesting because the current Pope Francis is precisely the 112th pope, the so-called last pope. In prophecy, he is named Peter the Roman. In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will reign Peter the Roman, who will feed his flock amid many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed and the dreadful judge will judge the people. The end. In order not to end on an apocalyptic note, I must say that some interpreters note the prophecy leaves the possibility of unlisted popes between the glory of the olive and the final pope, Peter the Roman. In the prophecy, a line in a certain part forms a separate sentence and paragraph of its own, while often read as part of the Peter the Roman entry. Other interpreters view it as a separate, incomplete sentence, explicitly referring to one or more popes between the glory of the olive and Peter the Roman. But even if this is true, let's look at an interesting part of the last prophecy, namely, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed. We immediately turn our attention to Rome, but is this the only true guess? There are also large and historically significant cities that are located on seven hills. Among them are Rome, Athens, Tehran, Mecca, San Diego, Kampala, Paris, Edinburgh, and last but not least, Istanbul. Is Saint Malachy's prophecy real? I'll let you decide for yourself. Let us still hope that not one city on seven hills is destroyed and that we do not see the end of days. That was our story today. If you liked it and want to support us, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to be informed about new content. It's free and it will help us a lot. I'd love to read your comments below the clip. I leave you with a wish for love, health, and luck. The story is by Azara Rose, brought to you by Mason Gray.